Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Above the Rim Rundown, where we run down all things NBA. I am one of your hosts, Memo, and right beside me, I've got Hoops. How you doing?
What's going on, man? Overall, I've been doing okay. Just hanging through. Pretty much same life routine as the norm. Work throughout the week. Usually go to the gym in the evenings, and then pretty much chill for a bit. Go to bed, and then repeat cycle. Overall, it's been going all right. What about you? How you doing, man?
Mostly the same thing, basically. Just working. I've been going to the gym more. I've been a lot more consistent because I haven't been the last few weeks, but now I got it down this week, which I'm pretty proud of. I did like we were talking before the recording, and I did forget to mention how last weekend we went. My family and I went to Wild Rivers,
Mm,
which is a local water park around us, and it was really fun. We went on like every single slide, even though they seemed kind of intense. It was actually so fun to go, and we should someday go too because it is insanely fun.
definitely. I definitely do want to go to the reopening, revamped water park, shall we call it?
Yeah, especially since it's like not too far from us. It's kind of convenient. So uh,
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's very fun. So during a hot day, I think it'd be amazing to go.
definitely.
But yeah, that's what I've been doing, just working and vibing, I guess, and making this list. Which we're continuing the series that we've been doing these last few weeks, where we're ranking players by position, and this week we are doing the power forward position. Not gonna lie, this was probably the hardest one, just because I feel like this is like the weakest position in the league. Maybe
Yeah,
that's debatable, but after going through it, I'm not very proud of my list. I think I have a lot of players that I shouldn't even be talking about because they're not as talented as some players we've been talking about.
and I thought it was pretty shocking because I thought that the power forwards would be like a more stacked position, but I guess compared to the other positions we talked about, at least so far, not really quite there, seemingly.
Yeah, I guess not really. But before we talk about that, we do have some news that we'll just briefly talk about right now. First, like probably the biggest news story of the week is Woj finally retiring after a very successful and honestly legendary career, um, breaking news throughout the NBA. He was the first to report that KD was joining the Warriors. He's that guy. He's the one that provides everybody with the latest news as quickly as possible. And not only like do we have a appreciation for him for his work because of like what we've been doing, we wouldn't know all these things and talk about all these new stories and um, you know, trades and dealings and stuff like that if it wasn't for people like him. But just in general, as a basketball fan, he's been one of the most iconic uh, media personalities out there. And it's kind of weird that he's so iconic yet, like, not everybody knows what he sounds like either. Like, everybody knows his work
Yeah,
through Twitter.
I
But
know. It's funny.
it's so iconic that like he has his own like phrase. There's the Woj bomb, that's how
Yeah.
iconic he is.
Yeah, definitely agreed there. Woj for what he's done for all this long time. Definitely shout out to him for a legendary career or run or career, whatever one you want to call it, shall we say. Um, and if I'm not mistaken, he decided to retire because he joined some coaching staff or something for a basketball program?
Something like
Or
that. I thought it was like a general manager position for some like
I
college
think that's what
team.
it was. Yeah, general
Um,
manager,
but
I
yeah, something
think.
like that.
Yeah. So shout out to him. I guess he got a promotion, so it was too good to pass up. So still making strides for him. Um, so as far as the future for, I guess, NBA updates, I guess now the main go-to man would be Shams Charania, who is also pretty good. So
Yeah, he's good.
shout out to him as well. Yeah, but did you know about Woj and Shams having like a kind of a little bit of a beef? Like, I guess
I
who
felt like that was more
spread
of a
who?
fan-made narrative, if
I
anything.
I think so too, but like I guess it's like a thing like who gets the updates out first. It's like a constant battle between the two, and I'm pretty sure it was a fake Photoshop tweet, but I remember I saw a funny one where it was like a tweet from Shams that said Woj can't keep up with me. I'm pretty sure it was fake, but who knows? Maybe deep down he thought so. But yeah, I guess the future will now go through Shams, and if there's another replacement guy that would like to try to catch him now.
But yeah, shout
But yeah,
out
we'll
to
second.
Woj. I hope he enjoys his new position, and I wish him nothing but the best.
Absolutely. Definitely agreed there.
So there's that. And then the second piece of news that we'll quickly talk about, I guess, is that Joel Embiid has signed an extension. He signed a 3-year extension worth $193 million. So that's a big chunk of change for the big man,
Yeah.
which makes sense, right? Like he's been not only loyal to Philly, but Philly's been loyal to him through injuries and stuff. Never really amounted to anything at the end of the day. Like they haven't reached the conference finals with Joel Embiid due to his injury history. But you know, this is a move he gotta do. Like he is an MVP caliber player when healthy. But yeah, the issue is his health. So although maybe a little risky spending this much money on an aging injured center, but he is like one of the best players in the league. So it makes sense to me, I guess.
Yeah. Agreed there. Like obviously they haven't really accomplished as much as they probably should have throughout the run they've had with him. But it's still not to debate that he is a very elite player, one of the top in the league, probably at least top five. And obviously, he has disappeared a little bit throughout some of the playoff runs, but not entirely his fault. The team also kind of just like key guys not stepping up at key moments, also contributing factors to them constantly falling short. So hopefully they'll be able to get further going forward. But overall, I think this is a move that just was a win for both sides, honestly. Philly showing their appreciation to Joel for what he's done for them throughout the years, and Joel being able to stay in the town that he has pretty much grown accustomed to now. So, good move for both sides.
Yep. So there's that. There's some like other smaller stories that we're not gonna get into because we got a list to talk about our top 15 list for power forwards, and usually this is the part where I ask you, do you have any honorable mentions? And you would name some people. I usually bring like 5 names. To be honest with you though, I don't really have that many honorable mentions just because of how weak this position is. I could come up with a few, but like, we'll start with you. Do you have any honorable mentions that didn't make your
I
official
do
list?
I do have a few honorable mentions, but I'm gonna say this, okay? One, these are not like crazy big name guys. And two, the majority of the honorable mentions that I wrote down actually happen to be, well, not rookies anymore, but they're about to be sophomores. Which is kind of funny if you think about it. Like, if that many only played 1 year in the league, and then I'm already considering putting them on the list. That kind of shows like the lack of, I guess, firepower, shall we say? Not to disrespect those guys, but like, you would think there would be more like experienced guys. Anyhow, so the first guy I put as an honorable mention, Amen Thompson. Now, he's just a rookie, so that's why I didn't put him on this list. But he had a promising rookie year, obviously. Him and his brother, pretty close play style, and also put up similar numbers. Ultimately, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Amen make one of the all rookie teams, but his brother Asar didn't. I
I don't
believe that's what it.
remember.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. I remember I was shocked because I always thought that Asar was the better brother, but yeah. So it definitely shown there. Amen has the promise, so I felt he was worthy of a mention. Another guy I wrote down was another former rookie, now sophomore, Trace Jackson Davis from the Warriors. He had a really good, honestly, a really good rookie year with the Warriors. Obviously, that team totally underachieved last year, but he happened to be one of the bright spots. And obviously, moving on from Klay Thompson, the Warriors gonna need to have some more, have replacement guys, and having a young piece like him, a great step in the right direction. Another guy happened to be another sophomore now, G.G. Jackson from the Grizzlies. I put him here because he, similar to those other two guys, had a really good rookie year. Obviously, John Morant and Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart, all those veteran guys being out definitely helped a lot of key young players, and GG was one of them. He was really good on defense. He was grabbing boards also, and he put up some good numbers his rookie year. So definitely gave him a shout out. And then I'm gonna just list like probably I'm gonna list two more names, but I'm not gonna go super in depth. The last two honorable mentions, just because like why not? I guess I wrote Jonathan Isaac as an honorable mention and Onyeka Okongwu as an honorable mention. Jonathan Isaac being the first one, he did pretty good things for Orlando. Obviously, he was out a few seasons after he had that injury in the bubble, and presence was clearly missed. But once he came back, instrumental part to the Magic's run to the playoffs last year. And then last guy I put honorable mention was Onyeka Okongwu. Pretty solid backup big for the Hawks. Now, maybe you could argue he should be considered a center as opposed to a power forward and not even be mentioned in this video. But honestly, it gets a little bit confusing. I just felt, why not? I'll give him a mention. Obviously, back up to Clint Capella, doing big things. A pretty good boost off the bench for the most part. I thought he was worth a mention. Underrated player. Anyhow, those were my honorable mentions. Are there any honorable mentions you would like to go over, Memo? Or thoughts on my guys, even, if you want?
Yeah, as mentioned, I don't have a lot of honorable mentions. Some of the people I was thinking about, you did mention, like G.G. Jackson. Out of all the rookies we could chose from, I guess, that was the first person that came to mind. He was definitely one of the few bright spots for the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Okongwu, I didn't really think about it, but I think that's a good pick as well. Someone I did think about was Jonathan Isaac, whose stats, they're not amazing. I think he averaged like 7 points, a few rebounds, and here and there. but you kind of have to actually watch the games to understand the impact that he has as a defensive force. I did leave him off because I was a little confused on his position. I don't know if he was power forward or center, but
Kind of confusing.
yeah, a little confusing there. And same with Rui. Rui is, although a Laker, I should know his position. He plays like power forward and small forward, so he's kind of an honorable mention for me as well.
Yeah, I kind of think of Rui as more like a small forward, low key, but he kind of played a little bit more four, I guess.
Yeah, like a stretch forward. It's like it's either LeBron power forward at times or Rui power forward at times. They like
Yeah,
switch. I think I don't know. It's confusing, but they're
it
pretty
is.
interchangeable. But yeah, his like, although he's not like a what's the word, like needle pusher or anything. Actually, he had his moments in past playoff games where
Yeah,
he's like carried
mostly.
the Lakers. But yeah, he's not really someone that will like blow up the box score. He'll get you some points though, so that's why I have him as an honorable mention.
Not bad. Yeah, and definitely me personally, also Lakers fan, fan favorite of Rui. I didn't think of him, but I like that sneaky honorable mention you brought up. So good stuff.
Yeah.
I guess shall we go to our actual list now?
Mm,
15, 11.
yeah, let's do that, and I'll give a warning right off the bat. Some players here might not even be considered power forwards. I know a few of
Yeah,
them you mentioned last week for the small forwards list. I threw them in here just to improve the list a bit.
yeah. There
So
were there were a few guys, or maybe just one guy that you had in your small forward list. I also put in the forward list. So yeah, common issue throughout the series is the position classification.
why won't it let me copy and paste? Okay, let me do it the other way.
Oh, sometimes Google Docs has that really dumb issue.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
I'm already like shocked with your list. Like,
Oh, our list is so different, except for one guy.
yeah. So, do you want to read off your list?
Yeah, sure. So at number 15, I got Jonathan Kuminga. Number 14, I got Draymond Green. Number 13, I got Aaron Gordon. Number 12, Jaren Jackson Jr. And number 11, Julius Randle.
Yeah, that's such a shocking list. But yeah, my list consists of Jonathan Kaminga at number 15, Keegan Murray at number 14, PJ Washington at number 13, Jeremy Grant at number 12, and Kyle Kuzma at 11. I most of
Very
most of your list so far, I have so much higher, so it makes me wonder who you have in front of them because again, I feel like this is such a lackluster list that like I can't imagine 10 power forwards better than Julius Randle.
and I'm gonna say this, I guess slight spoiler or whatever you want to call it. Most of these guys that you mentioned, I don't even have on my list. Obviously Jonathan Kuminga, we both have at number 15, and then the rest is all different. Um, Obviously Jeremy Grant, I mentioned in the last video. Kyle Kuzma, I kind of think of him more as small forward, but then at the same time, he does play very flex between like 3 and 4, so like it's hard to really say for sure. Um, PJ Washington is another guy that I kind of think of as more of a small forward, but then again, like common theme issue here, so no biggie. Anyhow, I guess I can start by going over my list. So Jonathan Kuminga, really good young talent for the Warriors. Um, One of the fewer, I guess, if you want to say few, bright spots from the Warriors in a overall disastrous season last year, despite having some crazy good win streaks in between. Um, there were trade rumors that the Warriors were trying to trade for a superstar, and a lot of times it didn't go through because they were hesitant to give up Jonathan Kuminga. So definitely a huge reason why is because of his potential upside. Number 14, I have his teammate, Draymond Green. Obviously, this is not the same Draymond Green as those prime Warriors years in the finals. If it was then, he'll for sure be top 10, maybe even top 5 on this list. But now, I thought he was still worthy because he is still very important to the Warriors team. As we saw last year when he was not on the floor, Warriors were significantly worse. Obviously, neither of us fans of the guy at all. Dirty player, cancerous in the locker room, you name it. But his impact cannot be denied. So definitely couldn't leave him off this list here. Number 13, Aaron Gordon. I put him on this list because he's a pretty good number 3 option for the Nuggets. And I will say he's another guy you could kind of like argue between small forward, power forward. Ultimately, I put him here because he's tall and he's big. So I thought, why not? He's a 4. But yeah, still a good explosive guy who can put up occasionally those good dunks like he was back in the day in the dunk contest. But now even better is that he could shoot threes and stretch the floor. So Aaron Gordon definitely had to be on this list for me. Number 12, Jaren Jackson Jr. Obviously, he won the Defensive Player of the Year 2 seasons ago in 2022-2023. And obviously a little controversial because there are some other guys that probably maybe did deserve it more than him, like Anthony Davis, for example, and maybe Rudy Gobert also. But that's beside the point. Obviously, despite all that, still has made All-Star appearance. Really good defensive player also. And one of the key, like probably the second best player at the Grizzlies behind John Morant. So had to be on this list for me. And number 11, Julius Randle. Now, obviously, he is not necessarily the same Julius Randle as like a few seasons ago when he made his All-Star appearance, but he's still really good. Obviously, he missed most of last season due to injury, but when he was on the floor, clearly a force to be reckoned with, and the Knicks were really like good. Obviously, without him too, but when he was on the floor, just another weapon for them. So that is pretty much my list from 15 through 11. I guess any initial thoughts before you go over your list?
I guess, yeah, just as mentioned before, I have, other than Jonathan Kuminga, I have the rest of your list a lot higher, and I genuinely can't believe there's like 10 more players better than any of these guys, honestly. Like, I really can't think of anybody else that would, like, 10 more people that are better than Julius Randle or Jaren Jackson Jr. As much as I think a lot of these guys are overrated. Like, I'm not a big fan of Julius Randle or Jaren Jackson Jr. or Draymond Green, but I feel like they should all be higher. So I do definitely need to see what you have in store before I keep like yapping. But yeah, right now I'm shocked. I'm so shocked right now. But we do have one thing in common, and that's Jonathan Kuminga, the cum bucket at number 15, who you mentioned how the Warriors refused to trade him because he has a lot of potential. I don't really see that. I feel like what we've seen so far with Jonathan Kuminga is what to be expected for the next few years, even though he is still pretty young. He's still, not the greatest shooter in the world, not the most efficient, I guess. It was strange that Steve Kerr wasn't playing him for like the longest time.
Yeah.
But yeah, for Steph's sake, they should trade. They should have traded Kaminga and Pods for like Lord Markkinen because yeah, they need to win now. But yeah, Jonathan Kaminga still deserves to be here. He has decent stats. As you mentioned, a small bright spot from the Warriors season last year. So yeah, he had to be here. I also have Keegan Murray, who's becoming one of the better 3-and-D guys in the league. Maybe he. Oh, there's people that say he has star potential. I don't know about that, but at the moment, like has shown that he could be a very important piece to the Kings, especially. I think during his rookie year, he was really showing out during their small stint in the playoffs. PJ Washington, I've always considered him more of a power forward than a small forward. I know you said vice versa, but I kind of considered him more of a power forward. He just I feel like he doesn't have the handles to be a small forward, if that makes sense. I don't know why I feel like that's needed as a small forward, but in my mind that it kind of is for some reason.
I
But
mean, I understand.
Uh, but yeah, he showed in the playoffs that he could be very important. Obviously, making it all the way to the finals with Luka and the Mavs. Uh, his defensive presence has helped turn around the Mavs season basically, and he has again showed in the playoffs that his shooting touch can be very important at times, and he has won games for the Mavs in the playoffs. So that's why I have him at 13. Jeremy Grant, I kind of trashed on him last week when you had him in your small forwards list, but due to like how bad the power forwards list, I kind of just threw him in there because he does have good stats. He does have good stats. He scores over 20 points a game, decent efficiency. But as I said last week, he's an empty stats guy. He's not gonna lead you to a championship as a number one option. So I threw him in here, but he's like a pity throw in, I guess.
Yeah,
And then
I get it.
Kyle Kuzma, around those lines, but I always had a soft spot for Kuzma as he was drafted with the Lakers, and I always liked him, even with his if I guess lack of efficiency. And
Yeah, inconsistent also. But
inconsistent, and it continues to be inconsistent with the Wizards, where he has the reins, but like hasn't really showed stardom. Him and Jordan Poole are looking like Dumb and Dumber out there at times. But yeah, he's a nice stretch for it. Could get you a good decent amount of points. So I also threw him in here, but again, like this range of players, although some of them are like key pieces to like winning teams, they're not really like blockbuster players. So if you want to convince me that Jonathan Kaminga is better than Kuzma or any, anything like that, I wouldn't blame you. I'm not that invested in this part of the list. So, any thoughts on my list, or should we move on? What do you
um,
think?
not too much, honestly. As mentioned earlier, I didn't happen to have any of these guys on my list, and mostly just because like I didn't really think about a lot of them. Obviously there are a few guys. Well, really just Jeremy Grant I had in my list last time for small forwards, and then who's I thought of kind of like as a small forward more, but he definitely plays both. And then Keegan Murray, kind of another similar thing where I didn't know whether to consider him small forward or power forward. I didn't really think of him for either list, honestly, but definitely worthy of an honorable mention now that I think about it. Young, up and coming um, talent. Is he gonna be a eventual like superstar? I don't know about that, but um, who knows? he has the potential to be pretty good for years to come, even as like a just regular starter or role player, shall we say. But I think we are good to move on to 10 through 6 now.
All right, let's do that. I'm really curious on what your list is gonna look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so curious. Oh, what? Okay, okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think there might be one that is a little bit high. Now that I think about it.
I don't think I cut my full list. Hold up.
Oh,
But
you're
yeah,
missing one.
do you want to read off your list while I fix mine?
Yeah, I'll read off mine. Okay. Number 10, I put Bobby Portis. Number 9, Lauri Markkinen. Number 8, Pascal Siakam. 7, Evan Mobley. And 6, Jalen Williams, aka J Dub. So, I was starting off by saying right off the bat, now that I think about it, maybe I put Bobby Portis a little bit too high.
He is so high for no reason. I didn't even think
Yeah.
about Bobby Portis. I mean,
Honestly,
shout out to him. I've been rooting for him to win Sixth Man of the Year for a bit. But Bobby Portis over All Stars like Julius Randle, Jared Jackson Jr., Draymond Green is kind of insane.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, I'm trying to remember why I did this, and it might have simply been due to like stats, honestly. And usually I feel like that's not a good way to go. But I guess like last season, maybe he did, because he did do like a lot of good things for Milwaukee. So a lot of those stats kind of make him look a little bit like overrated in a way. And I guess that's one of the parts of my list that I messed up on. I probably should have made a change, but
I feel like that doesn't even make that much sense either because I don't know Bobby Portis' stats, but like Julius Randle averaged 24 points per game, 9.2 rebounds, 5 assists per game, a decent efficiency. I doubt Bobby Portis is near any of those numbers.
Yeah. I think when I was looking up like it was like player efficiency rating or something. He was like kind of high, so maybe that like misleaded.
You went into the what is it called? The deep end. You were digging through the advanced stats.
Yeah, so that definitely played a little bit of factor, but yeah, I'll own up to it though. I definitely overrated the hell out of Bobby Portis. He should not be this high. Now that I think about it, probably if anything, he should be at the tail end of the list or honorable mention. But I did what I did, so I guess I'll just explain and ride with it. I guess to if you want to justify why he would deserve to be on this list, you can say because when Milwaukee was dealing with the injuries like Giannis, he was one of the guys that happened to step up and kind of like a runner-up six man for the last few seasons, I guess. And then even during Milwaukee's championship run in 2021, he played a really big role in helping them as off the bench. So shout out to him. Definitely put him a little too high, but he has done good things. So I guess I'll roll with it. Number 9, Lauri Markkinen. So obviously he had a slow start to his career in the Bulls, but afterwards he started getting better. So obviously that one season in Cleveland, pretty good. Nothing too crazy, but he was pretty good there. But it was really once he got traded to the Jazz, that's when he went off. And now obviously the Jazz are in a rebuilding mode. Lauri Markkinen could be a very good piece for contender or playoff teams, and getting a lot of trade interests from other teams now. So he might not be in Utah much longer, but The reason why he is that highly sought after is because of his high potential. Other teams see it, and so do the Jazz. That's why he's not traded yet, because they want to get as much good value in exchange as possible. So that's why I have him on this list. Right above him, Pascal Siakam. This one you can also argue maybe he is a little bit high, but I'm gonna just go ahead and say Pascal Siakam has been a pretty good performer for the most part in his specific roles in playoff series. Obviously, dating back to Toronto, the 1 year when they won the championship in 2019, he was pretty good that playoff run and was good in the finals also. I believe he made some I remember he made some clutch shots in game 6 when the Raptors clinched their championship and hung on to that win in Oakland, the last game at Oracle Arena before the Warriors went to Chase Center. So shout out to him for that. Also stopped the Warriors from three-peating, thank goodness. But yeah, Pascal Siakam, then again, obviously this year after getting traded to Indiana, he was pretty good, especially after Tyrese went down. He was a guy that like kind of helped Indiana hold their edge to at least remain somewhat close, even though they did get swept by the Celtics, unfortunately. But yeah, definitely thought Pascal was worthy because of those accomplishments there. The next guy, we actually both have the same exact spot, Evan Mobley. Really good, young, up-and-coming player. He is very good defensively. He was one of those runner, high-ranked guys in terms of like defensive player of the year candidates. And he, I'm sure, will just keep on getting better. One of those key, like a number 3 option for the Cavs. So definitely a big fan of his. And then at number 6, Jalen Williams, J-Dub. I put him here. So you had him in the small forwards video last week, and I was saying I didn't know which one to classify him as. Ultimately, I decided to just list him as a power forward, and obviously we've seen what he's done with OKC so far in his career. He has been pretty good. Obviously instrumental in their run to getting the 1 seed last year. Now entering year 3, I think he's only going to get better. And for a championship contender team, vital role. So, yeah, Jalen Williams, worthy of being on this list or the last list, whichever position you want to list him. So that was my list from 10 to 6. I'm sure the obvious is Bobby Portis, but I guess if you want to add on to that, go for it. But I guess Bobby Portis or anyone else, are any initial thoughts on 10 through 6?
I already talked about Bobby Portis, so I won't hound you more on that one.
Yeah. That one was, straightly analytics, I think.
I did think it was interesting that you said that Pascal Siakam might be too high. I would argue that he should be higher. I have him and Lauri Markkanen actually a bit higher, which maybe that's a controversial opinion, and spoiler alert, sorry about that. But yeah, I think they're both very talented and should be higher.
Yeah.
Jalen Williams, I'm glad you have him this high. Knowing that you didn't have him last week, having him this high this week kind of makes sense.
Definitely. And I would say this. The reason why I don't have these guys higher that maybe could argue to be higher, probably some of those guys I have higher on this list could be listed in other positions. But I just felt like, probably power forwards is good to claim them as classified. So, yeah, that's probably why I have these guys a little bit lower. But definitely no knock.
Okay.
Like, if we're talking natural position, probably these are guys are like as natural as can be for small or power forwards, being Pascal and Lowry.
Okay.
But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
What were you saying?
I was just gonna say that I am curious who you might have higher,
Yeah.
because I can think of three people that will for sure be in your top five. The other two, I
Mm-hmm.
have no idea who it could be. It could be
Yeah.
knowing that you have Bobby Portis. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like one of the most like random players. Like if you had like Killian Hayes, who's not even like a power forward. It's like, what if he's in here? At this point, I don't know what to expect. I feel like I'm losing it. But I was gonna say we should move on, but I don't even think I listed out my guys.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Go ahead. List your guys
yeah.
first.
So at number 10, I have Draymond Green. Number 9, Aaron Gordon. Number 8, Jaren Jackson Jr. Number 7, just like you, I have Evan Mobley. And number 6, I got Julius Randle. And yeah, okay, so I guess I'll go over them. Draymond Green. You know, I'm not a big Draymond Green fan. We all know this at this point if you're familiar with the podcast. I just don't like the guy. He just seems like one of the worst human beings ever, and just everything about him annoys me. The way he talks, the way he walks, the way he plays. It's all ugly to me. But there's no denying how important he is as the defensive anchor for the Warriors. I think he's so important in that regard that if he didn't get if he wasn't so stupid and didn't get suspended so many times last season, the Warriors could have made the playoffs.
Oh, for sure.
Like, not even like through the play-in. I think they could have been a 6th seed team if Draymond Green actually played and helped the defense for the Warriors. But no, he's so stupid that like he's punching Nurkic, he's choking French people. He's so erratic. Like, that's why I don't have him higher, because his impact is so important. But like, it's impactful in both ways. He's either really hurting the Warriors or really helping them, and I feel like there's no in between at times. So I have him at 10. I wanted to put him lower, but yeah, that's as high as I'll go. The top 10 spot for him. Aaron Gordon is my number 9. Some may say he's a Jokic merchant because Jokic gives him easy lobs for him to finish, but I kind of would argue that Jokic might be an Aaron Gordon merchant, as in the defensive side of things. Jokic is no slouch defensively, but we all know that he's not like the greatest defender. Who is a great defender is Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon is always taking the harder assignments, even if he has to guard like a smaller player. At his big size, he is able to do it. He's a very versatile defender and is able to guard the best setter or the best shooting guards, small forwards. Like, he is a very versatile defender. So I think that is a very important aspect of the game that he plays. And obviously, as you mentioned, he's such a dynamic player as well. Always catching those lobs, having those high flying dunks, and could shoot a bit as well. So that's why I have him at 9. At 8, I have Jaren Jackson Jr., another player I'm not a big fan of. I think he's the most overrated defensive player of the year. I was going to say in a while, but Marcus Smart is also up there for most overrated as well. But I didn't really want him to win that year because, yeah, he got a lot of blocks in, but he also is a big man that can't rebound, that gets into foul trouble. Like, if you're going to be a good defender, you have to stay on the floor and not get into foul trouble. And this is an issue that still continues to this day, along with the rebounding issue. This man is 7 feet tall and can't get a rebound. He is a big reason why last year during the FIBA tournament they couldn't win a medal, because he can't catch a rebound. Like, how soft are you if you're 7 feet tall, taller than a bunch of these like foreign centers, and you can't grab the ball? Come on. So
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the guy, but you know, he blocks shots, and that's always fun. He can score a bit. Actually, he averages more than I kind of thought he would average. I think I have it right here. Yeah. He averaged 22.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 2.3 assists. The 22.5 points is a lot more than I expected, to be honest with you. Now, he was in and out of the lineup a bit last year due to injury, so maybe if it's a full season, it wouldn't be that high. But either way, it's better than I expected, honestly. So, yeah, when I saw that, I put him at 8. I would have put him lower if I didn't see how high his points per game was. So I put him at 8, and at 7 I have Evan Mobley, who I believe is a way better defender than Jalen Jackson Jr. He is a lot more versatile. He is definitely a great shot blocker as well, but he is definitely a person you want on your team defending the best player on the opposing team. His offensive game is not as polished as Jaren. I'm sorry, I think I said Jalen last time, but Jaren Jackson Jr. He's still struggling on that, and the Cavs are still hoping that maybe he'll find a shot. I don't know if that happened. I feel like it's he's running low on time on that regard, but if he learns how to shoot a 3, the Cavs are gonna be scary. Imagine
for sure.
Jared Allen and Evan Mobley that can stretch the floor is a crazy combination. So, yeah, Evan Mobley definitely deserves to be here because he is one of the best defenders in the league. And then number 6, Julius Randle, who, former Laker, so always will have a soft spot, but I've never been a fan of his game. It's just very ugly, a lot of bully ball. He has an ugly jumper to me, so I can't watch the guy play, but there's no denying that he has crazy stats. That's why I've been pushing, or I've been bugging you a bit for having Julius Randle so low, because there's no denying that his stats are really good. I don't know if they'll continue to be this good next year with the Knicks being a lot better and have a lot more capable scorers around Julius Randle. I'm actually very curious on how he's going to be able to handle having all these players on his team, and having his team no longer being his team. So I'm very curious about that. He could definitely drop this time next year, but at the moment, I think he's a good 6. He was injured quite a bit. He's kind of injury prone, so maybe he should be a little lower, but I think when he's on the floor, he's definitely one of the best power forwards in the league. So yeah, that's my range of players. Any thoughts on what I just said?
Yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and say most of it was some definitely reasonable points you said. Julius Randle, of course, definitely really good. Has been All-Star a few times. Maybe a little bit high on the list, but then again, the guys that you listed on your list, I would say he probably is better than most of them. I think that if you're looking at the players now, maybe Evan Mobley is more of like a trending up versus a Julius Randle is like a trending down. But if we're talking about like what they've done throughout the league so far, then obviously Julius has done more, making the All-Stars. So overall, I'm gonna say not a bad list. Definitely some of these guys that you mentioned that maybe I could have put higher, arguably. So yeah, overall, I think pretty good.
Awesome. I guess, are you ready to reveal the top 5?
Yes, sir. Time to review the top 5.
All right, let's do it. I'm again very curious on what you have in your top 5. Oh, okay. It's not what I expected at all. But
yeah. It's because once again, the player classification's a bit confusing.
Go over your list before we get into that conversation.
Yeah. So number 5, I got Paolo Banchero. Number 4, Zion Williamson. Number 3, Domantas Sabonis. Number 2, Anthony Davis, and number 1, Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I will say this: obviously, some of these guys consistently changing their positions between 4 and 5. It gets a little bit confusing. Like for example, AD. Um, he kind of played the 5 a little bit more, but like then again, he likes playing the 4 more, and it's like really confusing. Where do you want to list him? That's why like I kind of always considered him as a 4, but he does play the 5 a lot also, and that's kind of like the issue is like Tim Duncan too. For example, when during his playing days, he was like, in my opinion, more of a 5. But then he would also play the 4. And then I remember some years in 2K, it said that he was a power forward. And then most of the times, it actually said he was a center. So those things get a little bit confusing there.
I think he's definitely a power forward. A lot of people consider him the greatest power forward of all time.
Yeah.
But with AD, yeah, normally like as like career wise, I do think of AD as a power forward, but and he does want to play power forward. That's the position he's most comfortable with. But he has been playing center for a few years now. So that's why he's not on my list, because he's gonna be on the next list, the centers
so
list.
I will say, arguably, maybe I should have put him on the next list, but
and that's a bonus as well. I don't think I've ever heard him play as power forward. I've always considered him a center. So
I will say that one was another one that like kind of was a little bit confusing for me, because I feel like he probably is more center. But then like when I was looking at like, I don't know why, but ESPN lists him as a power forward. It's kind of confusing to me. Like I don't know how they.
Yeah, it never helps when the publications can't get it right either. But he's a center. Like that's why he gets compared to Jokic a lot. That's why Şengün gets compared to him as well, because he's also a center.
Charmander, Charizard, and Charmeleon.
Exactly.
I mean, I should have said it. Yeah, Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard. Yeah. Anyhow,
I'll say if they were,
I made the mistake, I'll own up.
yeah, if they were power forwards, then the list does make sense to me, I guess.
Yeah, so definitely a little bit of confusion there for like the classifications. But I'm gonna go ahead and own up to it, I guess, and play along. So I'm gonna start with Paulo. He probably is more of like a center also, right? Supposedly, or is he like power forward?
He's more of a power forward.
Power forward. Yeah. Okay. Then yeah, this one makes sense. Obviously up and rising. Won the Rookie of the Year 2 years ago, and he was a rookie, right? And then now he was instrumental to Orlando making the playoffs last year. And I think he's only going to get better. And didn't he play on the FIBA team 2 years ago, Paulo?
Yeah, but he was like alright. He wasn't like a bright spot.
Yeah. But anyhow, Paolo Banchero, up and coming. I think he's definitely worthy of this list due to the upside of potential. Next guy, Zion. So obviously he's been pretty injury prone in his career, but when he has been on the floor, he's been really good. So shout out to him there. Definitely worthy of being high on this list. Would be higher if not for like some of those position mishap stuff that were mentioned earlier. Number 3, Domantas Sabonis. Obviously mentioned he probably is more of a center, but since I put him on this list, I mentioned he has been obviously he started his first season on OKC, if you recall. Yeah, that's like very forgotten. It was the first year when KD left and Russ had not a lot of pieces with Oladipo and Sabonis before trading for Paul George. He was a pretty good, like, more of a three-point shooting guy at that time, I think. And then once he went to Indiana, obviously only got better. Started doing a little bit more like bully ball and also shooting outside, so more consistent. More of like a I guess you can say he added a lot more to his game. So his game was a lot more open. And then once he went to the Kings, that's when he was able to break loose. Because obviously there's still an argument between whether he's the best player or De'Aaron's the best player. Personally, I might say De'Aaron, but it's a close call. Anyways, he's become more of like the 1A, 1B. And once he got in Sacramento, done great things. And the first season there, they made the playoffs. Last season, disappointing season for the Kings. He was not the reason, though. The Kings as a team just fell apart. So obviously, probably he should be classified as a center. But because I put him on this list, those are the reasons why I included him very high. The next guy, Anthony Davis. Obviously now he plays more as center, but in his career, more of a power forward, and he prefers to play power forward. I just thought I think of him as a power forward, so I put him here. Obviously he had the issues of staying healthy for a lot recent years, not last season. Last season he played over 70 games. Definitely a little bit of an anomaly there, but what he showed is if he is on the floor, he is a very great player and probably for sure a top 10. And last season he proved it. I mean, he was definitely one of the top candidates for defensive player of the year. Could have easily won that if not for Wemby or like Rudy Gobert also existing. Yeah, so that's unfortunate. And we've mentioned in the past, like AD easily probably should have won Defensive Player of the Year in the past. It's a little bit unfortunate. He might be like another Tim Duncan that might not win one just because of those other guys in the league. It is what it is, I guess. But Anthony Davis, when healthy, a force to be reckoned with, especially defensively. But his offensive game, also no slouch. Even though his three-point shooting isn't quite where it was during the 2020 championship run, he can still shoot every now and then. So shout out to him there. And then the undeniable, undisputed number one, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Obviously, not much explaining needed to be done. Two-time MVP, I believe also two-time Defensive Player of the Year, Finals MVP, 2021 champion, very explosive, and probably one of the greatest transformations from when he first entered the league to now. I mean, you've seen the pictures, right? He was like a young, skinny, not very many muscles back then, and now pretty good amount of muscles. But yeah, you can call him Run and Dunk Man if you want, but a guy with his body build and talent abilities, it's like if you're capable of doing that, why wouldn't you? Like James Harden, the comments that he says was just pure jealousy, honestly. That's all it was. Anyhow, these are the guys that I listed in my top 5. Some of them, probably the bigger controversy is their position. But aside from that, I say all these guys are essentially elite. So I'm going to leave it to you now. I guess first you can give me your thoughts, and then after that you can go over your list.
Okay, I'll say the list isn't bad other than like what we already discussed. How I feel like AD and Sabonis should be in the centers list, but basing it off of your list, I guess the only thing I'll say is maybe Zion should be over Sabonis. When healthy, Zion is like a force to be reckoned with. But I can see why you'll have him lower if it's like due to injury. I'm assuming, is it?
That was primarily the reason. Yes. But I would definitely say if they were both healthy, Zion clearly does have the higher upside. So I would take Zion in a 100% injury-free situation.
All right, and then Paolo, I guess he has the potential to be over Sabonis as well, but I don't think he's there yet. Maybe after this season, but I don't think he's there yet. But
definitely, yeah, has the potential. Needs a little bit more time, I'd say.
Right. But okay, I'll go over my list. So number 5, I have Lauri Markkanen. Number 4, Pascal Siakam. Number 3, Paolo Banchero. Number 2, Zion Williamson. And number 1, Giannis Antetokounmpo. So number 5, Lauri Markkanen. Yeah, such a dynamic player. Someone that I never expected to be an all-star caliber player. But he's amazing. He's actually really fun to watch because not only is he a lethal shooter, like he's actually a very underrated 3-point shooter, but he also have very underrated hops as well. Like he has some crazy dunks. I guess his season last season wasn't as hyped as the breakout season, but he still was playing like an all-star. He just plays for the Jazz, so that's why nobody cares to talk about him, because who cares about the Jazz? But, shout out to Lauri. It could be argued that Julius Randle is better than Lauri, but, that's where I draw the line, because I feel like I'd rather watch Lauri Markkanen than Julius Randle. So.
Oh, for sure. I'd rather watch him.
So, this part is probably pure bias, but it is my list after all. If you don't like it, make your own. Number 4, I have Pascal Siakam. I guess could be argued lower as well, like lower than Julius Randle. But his playoff performance this year did move me a bit. Like I didn't think he still had it in him, because he's shown, especially during his championship run with the Raptors and Kawhi, that he could be a great contributor to a championship team. And obviously the Pacers are not a championship team, but he was a contributor to a team that was able to make it in the Eastern Conference Finals. And a big reason why they made that upset is because of Pascal Siakam, who was balling. He had several 40-point games in the playoffs, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember 40, but probably like high 30s. I don't remember, but something like that.
One of the two.
He was scoring more than usual, is basically what I'm trying to say, and it basically surprised all of us. And there was times where he looked like the number 1 guy, even though it should have been Tyrese, who was good, like playmaking wise, great even, but scoring wise, it was all Siakam at times. Like Siakam was really carrying that load for the Pacers, and that moved me, so that's why I have him this high. And then Paolo, just coming off of his sophomore season, it's already showing how he could be one of the best players in the league, especially with this past playoff performance, which he did get bounced in the first round against the Cavs in a very brutal watch, but the reason why the Magic got bounced was not because of Paolo. Paolo was probably the only one working his ass off on the offensive end, because no one else could score on his team but him. And his stats increased in the playoffs compared to his regular season stats, which is always great to see, especially from a young guy like him. We've seen young guys like Jalen Williams, for example, who wasn't able to handle the limelight, but Paolo took that all in and was able to carry the Magic to a few wins, unfortunately losing to Donovan Mitchell's Cavs. But yeah, he still had an impressive run, and if he could score the 3-point shot at an efficient rate, then he's going to be a scary player to watch. So I do think he has a lot of potential. He's just, not one of the best in the league, but he's almost there. Almost there. Plus, I saw him, I guess, unrelated, but I saw him cook our college team in the NCAA tournament. That's how I first discovered him. And I'm like, damn, this guy, this guy's kind of good. So
yeah, like obviously, not saying too much, knowing that our college isn't really like a basketball powerhouse.
No, not
but
at
still,
all.
Like a cool way to discover a man that ended up being the number one pick in that year's draft. I guess we could say that although we did not win a game in March Madness, we lost to the number one pick. And we did not really get destroyed by them that badly. We lost against them by 17 points. Usually in the NBA, you think of 17 as a blowout. But knowing that Duke is an elite powerhouse and our school isn't, 17 is honestly not that bad. It's respectable, honestly. So, yeah. That's all I got.
Yeah, fair enough.
Respectable loss to a really good team.
Yeah.
And Paolo was a part of it.
But, okay, so there's that. Number 2, I have Zion, which I'm kind of surprised with myself how high I put him, but compared to the rest of the power forwards, he kind of has to be too. When healthy, he is one of the greatest, or not the greatest, but one of the best power forwards in the league. He has shown that when healthy, the Pelicans could be an amazing team, very high seed type of team. When he actually plays, the issue is he doesn't play. He's always injured with something, which is the biggest reason why is because it's related to like his past injuries, I believe. Some may say it's the weight. I don't know, but well, he's looking shredded this off season, so maybe he will prove to be the second best power forward in the league once again. But we'll see. He's always a mystery. I thought this was very surprising due to all of these injuries and stuff. Even though Zion has played like one of the best players in the league, he's never been in an all-NBA team. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy, yeah. And I think injuries is probably major factor.
Yeah.
It is still crazy though, because we've seen how high potential he has when he is healthy on the floor. But yeah, hopefully he stays healthy, more consistently, and for sure he will be an All-NBA team. Guaranteed, if he is healthy.
Right. And then number 1, Giannis, Mr. Run and Dunk Man. James Harden could say that all he wants, but you gotta admit, he's very good at running and dunking. He is one of the best scorers in NBA history, honestly. Like, he averages near 30 points at high efficiency. Even with the lack of bag, he can still get the ball in the bucket. He is also one of the best defenders in the league as well. As you mentioned, he is a 2-time DPOY. This man can do it on both ends, and almost becoming underrated because we're all talking about Jokic and Luka being the best in the league. Giannis is there with them, honestly. If like my Luka bias wants to say that Luka is better than Giannis, but Giannis can do it on both ends. Like, he is extremely talented. That, it's arguable that he is the best in the world. Like, there's no player better than him at both ends of the floor, I believe.
I agree. I think those two are neck and neck for sure. Oh, I guess you could say three-way neck and neck. Luka, Giannis, and Jokic, but probably right now I say Luka, slight edge. Anyhow, we could leave that off for a later video. We were intending to do something like that for the top players,
Yep.
but
Yep.
yeah, point blank is so. Stay tuned, by the way.
Stay tuned.
But point blank is Giannis is clearly the undisputed number one power forward in the NBA today.
Clearly. I
Without
it's no competition. It's like
yeah,
Giannis here, Zion here, and then the rest of the
yeah,
league down here. It's
way down at the bottom.
exactly
Yeah,
like it's no competition. So
agreed.
that's my list. Anything you want to say about my list before we do a little recap?
Um, honestly, nothing too much to say because I think the list is good because the top five, all those guys you mentioned, really good players that have proven themselves throughout their careers. Um, obviously, I listed a few guys due to some of the position classification confusions that if they were to be on this list, they probably would be that high. But if they were not to be on this list, then honestly, the guys that you listed are probably just about good spots. Because all of those guys that you listed, I also put pretty high. Some higher, some lower. But yeah, overall, I'm not mad at the five guys you have there because they are all proven all stars caliber and are currently, for the most part, still trending upward.
All right, fair enough. Okay. Now let's recap our list. So, who are the top 15 power forwards in your opinion?
So, at number 15, I got Jonathan Kuminga. Number 14, Draymond Green. Number 13, Aaron Gordon. 12, Jaren Jackson Jr. 11, Julius Randle. 10, due to some mishaps, Bobby Portis. 9, Lowry Markkinen. 8, Pascal Siakam. 7, Evan Mobley. 6, Jalen Williams. 5, Paolo Banchero. 4, Zion Williamson. 3, Domantas Sabonis. 2, Anthony Davis. And at number 1, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Those are my top 15 power forwards in the NBA today.
Here are my top 15 power forwards in the NBA going into this season. Number 15, Jonathan Kuminga. Did I say 15 or 14?
15. So you're good.
Okay. So number 15, Jonathan Kuminga. Number 14, Keegan Murray. Number 13, PJ Washington. Number 12, Jeremy Grant. Number 11, Kyle Kuzma. Number 10, Draymond Green. Number 9, Aaron Gordon. Number 8, Jaren Jackson Jr. Number 7, Evan Mobley. Number 6, Julius Randle. Number 5, Lauri Markkinen. Number 4, Pascal Siakam. Number 3, Paolo Banchero. Number 2, Zion Williamson. And at number 1, I got Giannis Antetokounmpo. So those are our lists. Those are our top 15 power forwards. Let us know what we got right, what we got wrong. I'm sure you all have opinions, and we're happy to read them in the comments down below. If you haven't checked out our other list videos, our top 15 point guard, shooting guard, small forward videos, go check them out. They're on the channel. They're on the podcast platforms. And while you're there, make sure you're following us at those podcast platforms, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Apple Podcasts. If you're on YouTube watching this, thank you, and subscribe if you like what you're watching. Check out our social media because we occasionally post. I am about to rant on a TikTok, so look out for that. And yeah, anything you want to say before we head out?
Yeah, just per usual, thank you guys for the continuous support. Couldn't be here without you guys. Obviously, season 1 was a great journey. Went by really fast. Right now, we are in the tail end of the off season, and pretty much 1 month away from the regular season. And I think we're about like 2 weeks away from the preseason, if not mistaken, which is not necessarily the most exciting basketball, but at least it's still basketball. So point blank is season is here very shortly. And we got some fire content coming too. Obviously, next week we conclude this series going over our top 15 centers in the NBA today. And then after that, we got some more cool concepts before the season comes. And you guys do not want to miss that. So remember to stay tuned. If you guys like our videos, please make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share, and definitely look forward to it because we got some heat coming.
Yes, we do. But yeah, we'll end it off there. We'll see you all next week. Goodbye.